A New Hope, Nier Chapter 144 Fan Fiction by Azazyel. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel for listening and patreon.com/Azazyel to read all of Azazyel's stories. Commander White, the Commander General of YoRHa and the divine emissary for android kind to their messiah in their god Jake Barris, sat imperiously upon her chair with her leg crossed over the other as she eyed the lesser humans who were looking at her at the other end of the video call. Humans that seemed to believe that they were owed the Covenant Supercarrier that her androids had bled for. And that White put emotional distress upon their very god in mercilessly purging it of the heretical Xeno filth that filled its depths. You cannot expect the UNSC to just allow a Covenant Supercarrier to remain on the planet and an unknown faction to just dismantle it. One of the generals said gruffly, and in turn White replied coolly. Not only is that what is precisely going to happen, it is currently happening, and it will not change. Your terrible lab experiments and the Spartans also won't be able to defeat my troops either, as we are very capable of remotely hacking into their Mjolnir armor. White finished with zero hesitation, and she took entirely too much pleasure in seeing those monsters from the ONI organization have veins pop up at how she had already detained a squad of Spartan sniper and scouts that were reconning the landing site of the Long Night of Solace. Thanks to the hard light technology they collected from Talon 4, they had already scaled it up to encircle the entire supercarrier, so even should the human orbital Mac cannons try to shoot at their shipyard/research facility, the site was going to be perfectly fine unless some truly exotic munitions were to be used. Then Fleet Admiral Ward, head of Reach's Navy branch of the UNSC, spoke with his voice coming across gruffly. And what are your intentions for humanity? You have never bothered to hide your android nature and the truly superhuman feats these hunters are capable of while purging ground-based Covenant forces. The Admiral waved his hand towards the screen as he asked bluntly. What is your end game here? Truthfully, we rather you leave the planet. But we are all well aware that the Covenant are going to arrive upon Reach in force for the Forerunner artifacts that were on the world. And frankly, we need all the help we can get. The Admiral admitted at the end. As it was a well-stated fact that as of this time, there had been no major victories against the Covenant. Only Pyrrhic battles won through severe losses against a heavily outnumbered enemy that would make humanity bleed greatly before wiping them out. Commander White folded her hands elegantly together as she responded. Our intentions for humanity are to foster their growth and protect them. But as Halsey, the lead researcher of ONI and the creator of the Spartan program, went to speak, White mercilessly verbally cut her down. The acts of the many organizations within Reach are not in the alignment of protecting humanity and wish to either protect their own interests or gather power. For example, you plan to use the purposefully kept ignorant population of Reach to lure a Covenant prophet to the surface for you to capture, which wouldn't have worked in the slightest. Commander White's voice was cold as she leaned forward and spoke. It's rather funny. You humans have such powerful AI that can hack into Covenant ships and many other things. But I am curious, why didn't you get the coordinates of the Covenant capital in High Charity and just send dozens of slip space engines to go off like a black hole in its vicinity? White utterly refused to believe that out of the probably hundreds of ships, if not more, that the human AIs like Cortana and other AIs had infiltrated. Not a single one of them had the star map for where High Charity was. As the supercarrier had several smaller ships within its landing zone that actually had miniature star maps as well in case the ships got separated from the supercarrier. The generals all shared looks, and White finally spoke again as she refolded her legs elegantly. In either case, disregarding your ineptitude, general civilians will continue to be evacuated to various planets as per the norm in an orderly evacuation and in the estimated 3 weeks before the Covenant arrives upon Reach in force. I suggest tripling the number of orbital Mac cannons while allowing us to continue placing our own fortifications and measures in peace. White spoke before visibly taking a breath, even though she didn't need to as an android. Whatever discontent and feelings you bear towards YoRHa can be barred at us once the Covenant is dealt with. And the planet of Reach isn't glassed via plasma. White finished and the call went black and muted as the general shared words. Utterly unaware that the hundreds of operator units had isolated the call and the AI who was supposed to be protecting their call's data. And instead, White got the unfiltered words as generals of various branches and departments were arguing with the spooks in ONI and other organizations on just using YoRHa before making any moves at all. While ONI wanted to secure hostages to ensure that any future negotiations go their way while also being able to learn more about YoRHa and its secrets. I am literally coded down to my very core to love and desire to protect humanity. But why does Jake have to be right about humanity's biggest threat to survival is often itself? White thought with pure irritation as she wondered if she should use Cinder, Fall and Emerald to kill off the heads of ONI in order to protect countless millions of lives with the loss of a few dozen, maybe a couple hundred at most, sociopathic humans killed in exchange. Jake needs to also grab that woman Raven Branwen. Her teleportation semblance will make her a good agent in groundwork missions, so Jake doesn't need to be bothered as much. And if she will not obey and work to redeem her sins against humanity, then we can simply cut off her limbs, and using implants similar used in the creation of the penny gynoid we can remotely control her semblance. White coldly thought. After dealing with ONI, Cinder, Fall and others, she has long come to the understanding that in order to protect the ideal of humanity, sometimes drastic measures must be taken so long as it doesn't harm the common man. And while using traitors to humanity, White had no such mercy for those wretches and would use them to their full potential regardless of the needs to be taken. After all, White had waged war stoically for more than 10,000 years for a humanity that didn't exist until Jake came. She was more than willing to get her hands dirty to keep humanity alive.